Uh-oh.
Hey. Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday night's live stream Disney Crush podcast. We have our friends Samantha and Carl with us to talk about Disney pins, pin trading, pin collecting, the history of pins a little bit. We'll talk about some of their favorite pins, some pins they wish they had, and we'll talk a little bit about the value of some of these things. And we hope that you guys join in and tell us about your pin collections and your experiences. So we have Paul Casavecchia and Samantha Kuhn with us tonight. Amanda is excited about pin night. She is a big-time pin trader. So is Judy.
I don't think I knew that about Amanda.
And Amy. Oh, yeah, Amanda's a big pin trader. Yeah, we have some of her pin pictures tonight.
Oh, good.
Sam, she loves your ears. Tell everybody.
I had to break them out. They're by a small shop on Etsy called Pixie Ever After.
Pixie Ever After. Good.
Which makes me
all right.
ears. It's a whole different collecting situation going on there.
Uli is with us tonight. Immediately after the show, Uli is going to go live. She's going to have a T-shirt sale live after the show. Uli, you can put a link to it on the Friends of the Disney Crush if you want. Dave is wearing an Uli original. I am wearing an Uli original, which you can't see because I'm sitting too close to the screen. Hola, Tom from the Pacific Northwest. So please support her. She's a good friend of the family. I don't know who Facebook is. That who Facebook user is, Kevin? Hi, Kevin. So I listened to this week's Geekin' on Walt Disney World, featuring special guest Kevin Curtis Allen, and I could tell you, I could listen to him every week if only he had his own podcast.
I know, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
It would be great. Yeah. So, All right. So, hi, Anna. So
Anna has a new pin collection.
She does, and we have some of Anna's pins. We have a picture of Anna's pins too. We'll get to that. Carl, when did you start your pin collection?
Started mine 2004. We went with a family trip, and it was booked through AAA. And we received, each kid, there were eight children there. Each kid received a lanyard with a pin on it. And we didn't know, well, actually you got a coupon, and you say, go down to the gift shop. And we were at Port Orleans Riverside, and they gave us this pin and lanyard, and didn't say really anything what it was about. And it wasn't until our first, we went to Animal Kingdom and went to Festival of the Lion King, which, Travis, that's why I like Festival of the Lion King. And the lady there, while we were waiting, said, oh, I see you have some pins. Do you know what that's all about? And we're like, no, tell us. And she told us. And we went afterwards to the little gift shop right across from there and bought a few pins. And my kids wore them. They were 9 and 14. And they like, Dad, are you going to get some? I'm like, no, I know what'll happen. No, I'll be good. We'll just let you guys do that. And about the third day, my son's like, Dad, I don't want to wear this anymore. I said, here, give it to me. I'll wear it.
Right.
It just took off from there. And here we are today.
Those lanyards that people wear, they can be quite hot. And I know when I had pins, I would wear pins. It would get hot, that heavy lanyard on your neck. So I think a lot of people have gotten away from that.
Yeah, there weren't as many people, but also there wasn't as much pin trading with cast members at this time. But it depends on your lanyard, depends on the size of your pins.
Yeah, it's true.
People go with backpacks now, hats, all kinds of different things.
Right. People don't always display them when they walk around in the parks either, because they're afraid the ones that are valuable, they're afraid they might lose them. And
yeah, you don't put those on your lanyards.
Yeah, they have those locking pins, but
yeah, I was just going to say, especially now with the Mickey backs.
No. So Samantha, what about you? When did you start pin collecting?
Oh, I started back in probably like a similar time, late 90s, early 2000s, as a kid, and it was more collecting back then because you would buy a pin that you liked, and then you didn't want to really trade it.
Right.
So And then I had brought a girlfriend of mine a few years ago for her first time. So I bought her some mystery pins so she would have the whole like trading experience. And then it like really intensified after that trip. It reminded me of how fun it is to interact with the cast members. And so it's escalated quickly since, I don't know, early 2019, I think, when I kind of got back into it.
So, Carl, correct me if I'm wrong. You might know more about this than I do, but Disney always had pins. Like since the 50s at Disneyland, it was a cheap souvenir, but it wasn't until 2000, the Millennial Celebration, that they really embraced the idea of pin collecting and pin trading. Is that
actually? It was October of '99 they really started that. Okay. And that's when it took off. And one of the reasons I like it, besides the fact that I consider pins like miniature art pieces of art.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry this big thing around with you. You just have these little pins that you have. I really like the fact that they use it for the cast member interaction.
Right.
And that really resonated with me. And I think, with the Millennium, all that just kept coming, and they just kept making more pins and more pins, and it's exploded.
Yeah.
But I really love getting to know the cast members.
Hi, Holly. We're glad you could join us tonight. She finally has a Tuesday night off. I know a lot of people have used pin trading to help their children, especially people with kids like Mike, or maybe some, with some socialization issues. It helps them to learn to walk up to the cast member politely, ask if they could see the pins, look at the pins, trade the pins, and it really has helped a lot of these kids to learn how to interact with adults and with people in general, So Judy's first pin was at the Poly when she stayed there.
1972.
They had pins. Pins did exist. They were, like I said, a cheap souvenir, but talking about 99, 2000 Millennial Celebration, that Disney went all crazy with it. So I would love to see that pin, Judy. You'll have to send me a picture of that one. So, yeah. So I had watched a couple of videos leading up to this, knowing I was going to be talking to you guys, and I had seen that Disney had seen the way people collected pins at the '98 Olympics, and that gave them the idea, well, we should do this in our parks. So
the Olympics are really where it started. I mean, the pins started back in the late 1800s, 1896, and then the spectators got into it in 1912. So that Olympic, I did get to witness some of it in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Oh, yeah? I was there just between the Olympics and the Paralympics. My daughter was teaching down there, and we got a chance to go up and get some pins from people that were selling and trading and so on. And wow, there's a ton of them.
That's super cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
So Disney has a way to catch up, but they're really getting there.
Yeah,
awesome.
I think so.
Yes.
What did Amanda had said something about Bryson, Dave? I saw a comment that Amanda said something about it helped Bryson. Yeah, Bryson, it helps him to interact with other people, with cast members and guests alike. There would be times on the bus when my mother wears her pins, and a child would often approach her and on the bus. This is before COVID, obviously, and ask her, if they would trade, if she would trade. So that's nice. Yeah.
That was one of the interactions that I had that like reignited my passion for it. Was back when I was there with a friend, and I was standing in line, and this little girl had her pins, and her parents were next to us, and they said, "Oh, that girl has pins. Do you want to see if she wants to trade with you?" And I mean, she couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old, but it was so sweet. And I traded her for like a little Alice Tsum Tsum, and that like started. I had a few other Alice pins, but that started my Alice collection. So even though that's like probably one of the least valuable pins in my collection, it still is like so meaningful because that little interaction just reminded me how much fun it is.
That is Samantha's Alice collection.
Oh, yeah, and that little Alice Tsum Tsum there is I traded with this little girl in line.
Wow,
Aw.
that's so cool. Yeah, you know, people that trade pins are so, I don't know. We were on the bus one time, and my daughter, this was years ago, when she was just getting into it, and she had her lanyard on, and she only had a few on there, and there was an older couple, and sitting across from us. This is pre-COVID, of course. This is before COVID, and they started talking to my daughter about her pins, and what's one she liked, and this and that, and Olivia just said something about one of the pins on his lanyard, and he goes, "Well, here," and took it right off and just gave it to her. It's just so cool. And then when we got off the bus, we were going to the same resort, and he goes, "Come here, let me show you something you can do." And he walked over to one of the cast members and said, "Can we see your special book, with the pins?" And he said, "Sure." So she goes, "There's a special book you can, with pins in it?" It was just, they took the time, and it's just so cool, so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now they have the boards in the gift shops, right, guys? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Do they only do it certain hours right now with COVID?
It depends on the resort and the gift shop. Some of them will have them out whenever you ask. Others will say, well, it's only from 12 to 1. Or
Okay.
I know Fort Wilderness in November, it was certain hours. And then in February, it was there all day.
Okay.
So they change it.
Anna says that it gives us a chance to collect things and show our love for Disney as decor, as she plans on doing. Yeah, I had Anna's little collection. Here it is. She's got some Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I spy at the bottom of the screen, behind Judy's comment, a bear and the big blue house, which just reminds me of when my kids were little. Judy said she sent me her picture. So, Dave, talk to Carl and Samantha while I work on getting Judy's old pin up.
All right, well, let me go through some of these comments real quick. Glenn, hey, Glenn, 4 of my favorite people. Oh, thank you.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
Glad to see you back at the ballpark, Glenn.
Tom from the Pacific Northwest. My oldest kids didn't want to trade pins. I never got into it. Trying with my 2 youngest, maybe they will at G3. Yeah, you never know how they'll get into it. My daughter now, she has to have a pin. Every time we go, she has to get a pin or 2. And if we go and she's not there, we have to get her a pin and bring it home to her. So it does become quite the obsession. 85% of my small pin collection is thanks to Sam. Sam,
I'm a little bit of a pin pusher.
Holly, I learned about pin trading during the year of A Million Dreams. We were pulled aside by a cast member and given a commemorative lanyard with 2 pins. How cool! See,
I have to jump in there because I was too. We were on Star Tours, and this is all I have to show for it. I can't find the lanyard. I can't find the other pins, and I had 4 of them. And
wow.
I looked this week to see if I could pull it out for the show, and this is all I could find was this 1 pin. But we had the same experience. We were in line. We were in the Star Tours in the cabin, and everybody that rode with us before the ride started, they came in with the jackets. And I remember back then they were giving away these special fast pass lanyards, and they were giving away all kinds of. But we got pins, so I didn't get the same Cinderella Castle, but we did get pins. And I'm kicking myself because I can't find. We had 4 of them because my whole family got one. So they have to be somewhere. We moved since then, so
you gotta be careful. Something. Be careful, Tom. Look what happened. Look what happened to Travis. So be careful.
I don't know that you want to send your daughter my way. It might cost you
a lot. Amanda Bond said, "I've enjoyed interacting with others while discussing pins at G3. I missed the pin bingo, but did it and trading. But I had a great interaction and helped a guy and his daughter get a pin from Epcot since they didn't have a park reservation. Pins add to the magic. They do. Very cool." Yep. And Anna says, "I have 2 Walt Mickey pins that commemorate my first trip to Disney, and they are the most special thing."
Yep.
See, they're memories, little small things of memories.
It used to be, before I had so many pins, I can almost tell a story with each one and the person behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's so many, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't think I can remember all that.
Wow. I'm still trying to get And I'm sure you do the same thing, Carl. Every resort I stay at, I try to get the pin for it when I'm there as a memory.
I was going that route, but
let's see what I was talking about.
You can only get so many all-star ones.
I only do one. If I stay at a resort multiple times, this one is for every time. And then when we were at Pop in February, they didn't have any Pop pins, so I'm short a Pop pin.
There's a little bit of Carl's collection.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea.
I have 6 big shadow boxes like that I said, okay, I have to limit it to that.
Okay.
Of course, then I just started hanging lanyards on my doorknob.
Yeah, you sent me some of those too. Some of the lanyards you have too.
Oh my gosh.
That's where I'm at, Carl, with my Alice board. I'm like, okay, I have this board. They have to fit on this board, and that's it. But then they release like a new mystery Alice box, and I know the anniversary is coming up this year, so I'm like, I'm not going to be able to purge anything, so I'm going to have to add something.
So, Samantha, did you ever figure out the real number that you bought at G3? Because you had thought you bought 100, which can't be. I mean, that
no,
would be
I definitely didn't buy 100. I think I accumulated 100 because Carl at G3 got me into Hidden Mickeys, which now is so much fun because it's just something to search for on the boards. So there's my little Hidden Mickey, some of my 2020. Those are 2020 ones. So I traded for a lot. So I brought ones that were in my traders, which I don't really count as my collection until it's like in.
If you're looking at these pins, you see the little hidden Mickey in the pin.
And now they've updated them to be hidden Disney so that they can incorporate all the other properties. So I think like the Bugs Life ones have the little Luxo ball in them instead of the Mickey.
Oh, okay.
And the Avengers, the Marvel ones have the little Avengers logo in there.
Interesting.
And Disney World has different ones than Disneyland.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, those weren't Carl's. I had Carl's too. These are? Yep, there's Carl's.
Some of those. And there's another one with the Bambi collection and a few others.
That Bambi collection is nice.
Okay.
So I have about 50 to 60 hidden Mickeys, which I think I traded for all of those. So those don't really count. So maybe I added 40 other purchases.
Oh my gosh.
But I went to the character warehouse.
Yeah.
Maybe I traded some with Wendy.
So you can save a bit going to the character warehouse.
Yes, for sure. And that was my first. I mean, you can save a bit because I walked out of there a couple $100 later, but if I had bought all those things at retail price.
So currently, what is the price range for pins from the cheapest ones to the real pins from Disney? The limited edition, big ones?
I would say if you're buying in the park, and Carl chime in, the cheapest you're probably going to get is, I think I've done an analysis, the 7-pin booster packs. And I think those go for $35, so it's like $5 a pin. And then in the park, the most things they usually have is like the limited edition ones go for $20 these days.
Okay.
Maybe they'll have like a mini jumbo one that'll go for 30 something. But then all of those immediately go onto the black market and
Well, tell me about this thing, Samantha. This is the one you said.
Oh my god.
This is my grail, but I don't have an extra grand to spend on a piece of metal.
And there are things that are actually more than this, right?
Yes, yeah. And I mean, this pin, because I have a few. So Walt Disney Imagineering is a very limited edition pin. So I forget what edition size this one is. I think it's maybe 200. So I have a few of those that I am lucky enough to have a cast member friend. So she has access to them and can get me them at retail. But like that pin probably cost $25.
Right.
And then now it's worth $1,000 on eBay. So
now, what makes it so rare and expensive?
It depends on like the edition size. So anything that the lower the edition size, typically it's more rare. The popularity of like the character. So Alice is a very popular pin collection character.
Okay.
Now, Carl, I did a little bit of research, and one of the ones you said was your white whale. was this El Capitan. And these El Capitan ones can go for quite a bit, right?
That's about somewhere 250 to 350.
Okay.
And I'm not even in that ballpark. It's like, okay, no, because I think, well, if I spent that and put it on the wall, what would I feel like? And like, I feel like I wasted that money to buy a piece of metal. But yes, I love the colors in cocoa. I probably I have some cocoa in the collection.
Right. I did
but I just got satisfied and went, okay, that's great. And I bought one fantasy one that's in there, and that was, usually the fantasy pins are $20 or more.
I had your cocoa pins. I know I have them.
They're in there. Yeah.
You've got so many pins.
But I ended up just getting the fantasy one for $12. I can't pass that up.
So
there they are.
The fantasy one is the top left there with Coco and Hector and Miguel in the Haunted Mansion Doom buggy. Right. And the fantasy pins are pins that artists make themselves. They're not tradable at Disney because they're not Disney pins.
Okay.
But there's some beautiful pins.
Nice. Now, pins that are not made by Disney, I have a couple of those. I bought one last week, as a matter of fact. But where are my pins going? They're here.
Nice job, Amanda.
Nice.
I got these pins when the Diz Unplugged turned 20. That was nice. I wish we could get some of these nice enamel pins, Dave. They're probably very costly to make, though. They probably bought like 1,000 of them and gave them away. I had...
I don't know who Facebook user is, but yes, it's a very slippery slope.
You end up having to decide who you want to collect, what you want to collect. And then eventually, like Sam said about her Alice collection, when you start filling that board up, you finally go, okay, I should probably trade some of these for something else, and which ones. And I don't think Sam's there yet.
No, I'm not very good at purging. That's not one of my strong suits.
I eventually got there.
These two pins are not official Disney pins. I got one from the Characters in Flight, and that Dapper Day one I bought last week, actually. It was sold in Epcot, but it's not an actual Disney pin. I found out after I bought it because it's the back is plain. They were selling them in Epcot at the Dapper Day kiosk.
Does it have a copyright Disney on the back?
No, I don't have it on me, but I have to look. I'll look, but
because some of them don't have like the Mickey waffle backs on them, especially like some of the older pins too, because they didn't start doing that until.
Yeah, I do have some older pins that don't have the Mickey waffle that I know I bought at Disney. Yeah. So.
As long as it has the copyright Disney, even if it's like Loungefly, or some of those will have copyright Disney, you can still trade those.
Okay, that's good to know. Yes. So Judy did send me her pictures. This is Judy's pin from 1971.
Oh, nice.
Holly one. Really nice. Yeah.
Let's trade, Judy.
I know. I love that one. I'll take it.
Don't dare. Don't you. I know, don't give it up, Judy. No, keep it.
I'll trade you one of these.
And this is her key collection.
Key pin. This is new for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sorry, Judy, got you hooked on those.
I know, and I think I sent her that Fantasia one, and then the other weekend, Wendy and I were at the Disney store at the mall, and they had all these key pins, so we FaceTimed her and said, which ones don't you have?
Speaking of keys, some of the tours giveaway pins, this is my Keys to the Kingdom. I actually have a couple of these because I've taken this tour 4 times, but nice. Pins like that, do they hold value? I have also, no, that's not it. Backstage Magic.
Oh, nice.
They gave that at Backstage Magic.
Nice. That's a cool one.
In your question, a good one, it really depends on what the interest for that is. If somebody collects those, boy, you're in.
So you have to find the right person. It's like an auction. If the right person is there.
Right. And it's like somebody says, I collect pins with the year 2013 on it. Other people will say, I don't want any pins with dates on it. It just depends. And everybody collects something. And I have a Disney Difference one. I went to a workshop once that Disney put on, and I got one of those. So I had, a few of those. But if you want to trade it, that's the one you probably trade on a board with.
Right.
Make sure you're getting a good one, though.
Right. So what was Uli saying, Dave?
She said, I was sitting by myself last year, and a little girl came by, and I told her I liked her pin. She took it off and was like, here you go. I said, oh, no, I don't have anything to trade. And she said, that's okay, and then looked at her mom, who shook her head, and the girl looked back at me and whispered, sorry.
Sorry.
Great story.
That's so sweet.
Oh.
That's really sweet. Amanda sent me some of her pictures.
That's a good idea.
Oh, blasphemy.
That's a good idea, Tom.
Small World pins for Dave. Yes.
No.
I see a Small World pin there and Amanda's pins. Her resort pins. Amanda, you have a Riviera, nice. I see, a grand opening Riviera, because I have been tempted to give you my opening day Riviera pin.
Wow.
And then I saw your picture that you already have one. So now I don't feel so bad. Yeah, I was at Riviera on the day it opened, and I've been kicking myself ever since because they had them, and I had no idea what was in front of me. I just took one. I should have bought two at least. But
it's not predictable, because I was in the same boat where they released when the Skyliner opened this Skyliner mystery set, and I have a pin pickup person in Disney World. So I was like, well, why don't you pick me up two of those boxes? Like, they look cute. Yeah. And then, of course, I got them, and they were like the hottest thing. They sold out immediately. They never brought them back. And it was like, that's one of my most prized possessions, is that completed set, because it was so much work to get done. But who would have known that this random Skyliner set was going to be the hottest thing?
And that value of that's pretty high.
Yeah.
Too.
And now I feel bad. I see people in the pin groups like looking for trades for them, and I just want to be like, I'm so sorry you're doing this right now. You're about 2 years too late.
Yeah.
Anna wants to do a show about ears. Do you think we got enough to talk about with ears, Samantha?
I think so.
Samantha, get Rachel too.
Yeah, Rachel.
We'll get all the ear girls. Amanda's an ear girl too. So my white whale, every year I go for Mother's Day with my mom, and it also usually happens to fall during Nurses Week. And I'm always looking for the Nurses Day pin, and that thing sells out in a minute and a half.
Those are hard to get.
Yeah.
This is this year's, and I've already seen them on the internet for $200, and it's not even Nurses Day yet. So
I think they still have some of those, because I've seen people down there showing, doing pin pickups, and there's a rack of them.
Yeah, I'll message my pickup girl.
Okay.
To get off.
I have a few, but not. I'm there every year on Nurses Day, and they're already sold out usually by actual Nurses Day. So
right.
So let's see.
I wonder if Barbara is a pin collector or a trader.
Hey, Barbara. Okay, that was Amanda's attraction pin. Amanda's white whale, but she bought it today. She said she was able to get it today. That was the pin she'd been wanting.
That's
nice. Yay.
Amanda has how many?
The other
those are numbers we don't speak of, Danielle.
Oh no, come on. Nobody's listening.
Carl and I had a club, and Carl, I'm in a different club now.
Yeah, we're up there.
You just took a deep breath when you said that, Carl.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not just limited to Disney pins. I have baseball pins, vacation pins.
Oh my gosh.
Olympic pins. My wife just keeps smiling.
So but I don't spend a long time ago.
What's that?
You could have retired years ago.
Yeah, really. I don't spend a lot of money on an individual pin. My threshold is like when I start to it's $20.
Okay.
Now
you just have a lot of them.
When I go to Disney, I might buy 10 or 12 at $9.95. And if my daughter's with me, she has the annual pass holder discount.
Okay.
So that's good. And then online, when you're looking online, sometimes you get them a lot cheaper than you would. And if you're willing to wait, like, okay, I know that pin's from 6 years ago and I need it now, I'll pay that. Or you just wait a little longer and the wow wears off and all of a sudden you get it at a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Karen said there were no Nurses Day pins at the parks today. She looked.
Oh, wow.
So
yes,
wow.
That's a good tip for anyone wanting to sell or buy or have good traders. If there's a monthly collection, always buy the January pin. Yep. Because people will decide a few months in that they want to start the collection. And that January one is always hard to get. Yeah.
Interesting.
Amanda, that's twice of what I sold mine for a while back.
Wow.
Good for you.
So good advice from Amanda and Samantha is to buy the January pin.
Even if you think you don't want to do the collection, just buy it. You'll never have a problem offloading it later if you decide against the set.
Judy has the 1980 Lake Placid one.
But we decided, Carl, right? We're not doing that.
What's
not doing this one? The Mickey Windows. Disneyland and Disney World are switching off months on these. And this was the first one at Disneyland. And I actually traded somebody for another pin that I had. And that's how I got this. And then, Samantha's looking at them. And we've been watching what has come out. And we're like, nah, we don't like it. Never mind.
I had gotten the second one in the series was Madame Leota. So I have a small Haunted Mansion collection. So I had gotten that for my Haunted Mansion collection. And I was like, these are fun. Should we get them all? And Carl got the Mickey. But then what's the last one was Goofy.
The Goofy.
It wasn't as fun.
No.
You guys enable each other.
We do.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, there's the other one.
I have to get that one. I have the churro.
Oh my God.
I traded this one too. That the Headless Horseman one I got down there.
Oh yeah.
I traded this. And the other one's the churro. And I'm like, I don't want churro. I'm like, wait a second. I'm always eating churros down there. Of course I should.
Well, I have a 2 foot by 3 foot food board I have to fill up. So I need some limited edition food pins because they're bigger.
Okay. Yeah, I had Samantha's food. This is Samantha's food board.
This is you have a pin problem because I accidentally bought this board that was bigger than what I planned. I thought it was going to be, 1.5 by 2 feet, and it was 2 feet by 3 feet. And in my former apartment, the only wall I had that would fit this was my kitchen. So I said, we'll start a food collection. And now I have 150 or 60 food pins. And the irony is that I now moved into an apartment with a very narrow kitchen. So it barely fits on the wall.
That's funny.
But yeah, a 2 foot by 3 foot board.
Bye,
takes
Anna.
a lot of pins to fill.
Bye. Good luck talking Disney plans. So tell me about this pin, Samantha.
So this was a mystery pin set from a few years ago. I think when Alice in Wonderland had 60th or 65th anniversary. And if you put them all together, it's a puzzle and it makes a teapot. So I've got, 20 pins to track down. So far I have 2.
Okay.
I have Tweedledee and Tweedledum
any of those pins
and the Mad Hatter.
Let Sam know because she's looking for that. That is the
lifelong project, I think.
Yeah.
But someday.
Yeah, those puzzle ones, they can be dangerous. Those puzzle ones. Yeah.
And the puzzle ones have gotten more expensive. So now they come 1 pin per box. They're limited edition. The box is $18 and it's a mystery. So
yeah.
My only story about the puzzle pieces. This wasn't a puzzle. I think it was the castle. we were in Disney and we were talking to one of the cast members we were checking out, and another cast member heard us talking. We were looking for a Christmas ornament. I've talked about this on a podcast before a while back. We were looking for an Oswald ornament because I love Oswald and Hey Hey. Those are my two guys. And another cast member heard me talk about Oswald. And she goes, "Oh, you like Oswald?" I said, "Oh yeah, he's one of my favorites." And she goes, "Hang on a second." So she leaves. She goes in the back, and she's gone forever. I mean, we were kind of like going, "Is she even going to come back?" Finally she comes back. She said, "I found it," and she hands me an Oswald pin, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." It was so sweet of you. So we get outside. My son's looking at it. So what does my son do? He gets online, starts looking it up. and he's looking it up. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I just want to see what it's all about." So he looks it up and he finds it on eBay or something for like $70 or $80. And it's I guess we found out that it's part of a puzzle, some kind of puzzle that you put together. So, but it was kind of a sought after Oswald pin. So that's my only story I have.
Yeah,
hopefully you still have that pin.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to look for it today, but I was so busy editing out all of Tony Ann's ums today on the podcast.
And clicking, right.
Yeah.
The only puzzle I've completed is there was a Christmas Carol, Mickey's Christmas Carol puzzle a couple of years ago. And that, again, like I was down there when it released. I'm like, I'm going to try to get this. And I bought, 6 boxes, and it's a 12-piece puzzle. So I don't know why I did that. But then I had to track down the other 12 pieces. And I finally did. It took me like 6 months, but.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, Lauren.
Lauren's got to turn it off before she starts another souvenir addiction. Uh-oh. So, Carl, are these mostly attractions,
and obviously you can see Tower of Terror and Haunted Mansion are two of my favorites. The service elevator one, Lauren, I actually got at the Ohio pin trading thing a few months ago, or last month in Canton. I found that. That's part of the D23 collection.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's just, they're fun. I look at things that are just fun, and that's the way I look at it now. Would I like the pin? Yes. If not, then I don't get it.
Yeah. I have that Everest pin too. One of my boys bought that pin. Let's see. We got Sam's food. Carl, tell everybody about this pin. That was so sweet. You told me the story.
So, my wife and I met about 7 years ago, and we had our first kiss on Thanksgiving of 2014. And I thought, well, what can I do to commemorate? So I found those 2 pins and put it together. Put it on a little canvas board. On the back, it has first kiss, Thanksgiving 2014.
Oh,
that sits in our kitchen now.
Awesome. So these pins can commemorate events in your life. That's awesome.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, this is your Peter Pan board?
My Peter Pan board. I just actually added a couple today.
You were working on that during my Zoom call last time.
I know. Well, because there's a hallway in my apartment that's just the perfect size for pin boards. So I was like, okay, I need it to be even. They all have to be the same. So I took this cork board and covered it in black felt and was working on this. But now it looks so sad, this little collection.
Well, because you need this one.
I do. I need that one.
So what is this? What's the deal with this pin? Is this a really expensive one?
That one's, it's not anywhere near the Alice profile, but that's another one that came out during, I guess it was the 60th or 65th anniversary of Peter Pan a few years ago. That one came out, and then that another puzzle that I have no pieces of, but a map puzzle that is Peter Pan. So those are both two of my. I try to pick like one epic pin per collection.
If anybody sees this pin, you got to buy it
for a reasonable price.
Carl, this is your daughter. This is Chip and Dale. All these pins.
That's Chip and Dale. The funny part is when we started collecting, my son liked Chip and Dale. So I started getting some for him. And then as you get older, it's like, Dad, never mind. So my daughter loves Chip and Dale. She's the one that lives down in Florida, is a teacher. So she started collecting. And of course, I would find them and give them to her. And she finally said the other day, Dad, I think you can stop getting me Chip and Dale. I have no more room in this. That's a pretty big board. That's like a foot by 3 or 4 feet.
That's awesome. Who's those are race pins. Whose race pins are those?
Those are mine. That's another collection I started. Is when I go down, I get some pins from something I do.
Okay.
And those are all different. Visit Toy Story Land for the first time. Did Hoop-de-Doo, Tower of Terror for the first time, and then ran in with my daughter in the Wine and Dine 10K.
Awesome.
Very cool.
That Run Disney. There's another thing. Sam, if you haven't done it, you got to. It's kind of crazy.
I have signed up for two races now. They've both been canceled. So now I'm succumbed to do the virtual challenge.
They have the expo starting on Thursday, and it's over at ESPN, and you need to get there before they open the shop and get in line, and they just have you in a queue in the gym. I mean, it's snaked around, and
wow.
And all of a sudden they let you in, and everybody goes and
right for the pin.
Those, if you wait until Friday or Saturday, you're going to get maybe a Run Disney pin, but you won't get one for that races. Right. And my daughter actually tracked down the Sebastian one from somebody that was staying at the Contemporary that was selling hers, because they were out by the time we found them.
Wow. So this is one of Carl's white whales?
Oh, yes. The film strips are quite sought after, and I don't have, Lady and Tramp is cool, Coco, any movie I like, the film strip would be something that I would look for. Nice. I don't know
Carl,
that I'll ever get
if one comes out that you see is coming out, let me know.
That's right.
I can get you one.
I will let you know.
Do you have an a soft spot for Dumbo?
I do. Apparently, I like Dumbo. The movie isn't as exciting as Dumbo is to me. When I was little, I had a stuffed animal Dumbo, and I loved it so much. It had no stuffing left in it and patches all over. So I started collecting Dumbo pins. And
nice.
And whenever my daughter, I drag her on the Dumbo ride. It's like, come on, it's just nostalgia. Let's go.
That's awesome.
Have you seen, Carl, that spring one that came out?
The spring
Dumbo one?
Yes.
You got to get that.
The one, my white whale of Dumbo is actually, it's the old the MGM water tower.
Oh, yeah.
Dumbo. Really?
Yeah.
Those are those cast members ones, right?
Yes.
They had a whole set like last year.
Yeah, they're up there in price.
Yeah. There's a Peter Pan one too that's in my list, but
nice. So Samantha, you had a Dalmatian pin board too. That's one of my favorite movies.
Me too. And when I first started like really getting back into it, I was like, okay, let me look at what I have from childhood, and I picked like my 3 favorite movies still that I had something from when I was a kid. So somewhere on, I can't even find it on this picture, but somewhere on this board is a pin I've had since I was, 5 years old. But this one has some of my favorites because it has a lot of the 101 Dalmatians celebrated an anniversary recently. So Walt Disney Imagineering came out with this whole set. I have a cast member friend was able to get them for me. So like that huge one in the middle of that centerpiece is one single jumbo pin, which is awesome.
What do the jumbo pins go for?
So if I remember correctly, it cost me, I don't know, $80.
Wow.
But it's going on eBay for, I think, like $400 or $500 now.
Wow. And I see at the bottom, you have one of those film strips.
Yeah, so I have that film strip that came out at the same time with the anniversary. And now I have to go, oh, there it is, right underneath that jumbo pin to the right. That's the 2 that are hugging. That's my little one from back in the 90s when I was a little girl.
Aww. That's
my Peter Pan map. I haven't started yet. That'll take me forever.
You want to. So if anybody has any of these pieces, hit up Sam.
Yeah, let me know.
What is this, Carl? What are these?
I love the Mickey icons. And these are costumes of cast members. Like the different rides, the Great Movie Ride, the Tower of Terror, Space Mountain, and different ones that there's more of them. And And those are easily faked.
Really?
I would say on that lanyard, probably 75 to 80% of them are real. There's some fake ones on there. It got to the point where, like, you know what, I'm not going to spend a lot of money on this. I look to trade, or usually trading online or at the park. At the park, most of them are fake that you find of those.
Really?
Nowadays, yes. But I just love the Mickey icons, and I think they're so
Can we
cool.
talk a little bit about the fake pins, that this has become a whole industry, people making fake pins? Yeah. You guys both sent me some examples of things to look for. Samantha, you sent me some of these that sometimes the back might give you a clue.
Yeah, so like if you're looking at the back of a pin, and this, I know there's been some like quality issues recently, so some of the newer pins this doesn't apply for, but most of them you'll see, if it's real, the Mickey waffle back goes all the way off the edge, versus like on this Tinkerbell one, you can see there's little borders in some places, or like on her wing up there's like a whole wing with basically nothing. Yeah. So that's a good way to tell.
Okay, then what is this one showing me?
There's also, so like on most pins, they have these little like pointy spikes on either side of the post, or at least on one side. So on a real one, they're really tall and sharp, versus on a fake one, sometimes they don't have them at all, or they're like really, really short and kind of more like nubs versus real points.
And then the finish of the pin itself.
And then, yeah, this is like the best way, especially when you're trading the parks and you're looking at it, especially now when it's a board, you can't really be dissecting, but you'll see on the fake ones, like they usually use a different type of enamel. So it comes out really like glossy and wet. And if you put your finger over it, you can see there's kind of dips in the enamel, versus the one on the left, which is real, is more flat and it's a matte finish.
Carl, you sent me this, which is,
oh my gosh, that poor Merida just makes me so upset.
and here's, actually, I got Merida and Mary Poppins. I traded across from the Canada Pavilion at G3, and everything on the board, they looked the best. And of course, you're standing, 5-6 feet away. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take those. Got them home, and then I was on a trading site, and I looked, and I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't even have a smile on her face. So I bought the Merida and Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid for one of my daughters, the Merida for my other. Those two remind me of both of them. Right. And I looked at them, I'm like, this is a perfect example of fake. I mean, it doesn't, no smile. Yeah. and the color is orange instead of red. So, and it's not always that obvious either. But yeah, now I know to look for the smile.
Yeah. Rachel got her a fake Tower of Terror pin from that set. She's learning. Yeah, that's, I mean, sometimes you have to take your lumps to learn, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the pin, even though it's fake, you like it, or there's a reason that, you know what, and I have a tomato pin, which actually is real. But even if it was fake, I would keep it, because like Sam traded with a youngster. We were walking from Tomorrowland over to the castle, and I had a lanyard on and it had a big Chewbacca pin. Somebody gave me, I didn't really want it, but this little boy walked by, and I could just see his face light up. And he's with his mom, and they stopped, and she's like, well, go ahead. And I told my wife, I said, hang on a moment. And I looked and I said, would you like to trade? And he comes up and he goes, may I trade with you? And I said, sure. What, can I see your pins? And we looked, and I said, what would you like? And he just kind of like, what? His mom's like, I knew it. I said, sure. And what do you have? So I traded a tomato pin, which I love cars. And I would keep that pin no matter what, but it was a good pin.
Yeah.
But he walked away, and I'm like, I've got a memory of that little 7-year-old boy. Couldn't wait to trade for that.
That's awesome. Really is. Amanda sent me some pictures from her friend. Looks like she's got a Canada collection, a Monsters Inc., Snow White and Toy Story. It's really creative what you can do with some of these shadow boxes. You can either just do just a regular pin board like some of Carl's, or you can go all out and get creative like this girl's done. So
I should have sent you. I have a friend that does. She's much better than me. She keeps her collections very narrow, and she's always like culling them down. And she actually has that Alice profile pin because she's very, very specific about what she likes, and she'll spend a lot of money because she doesn't have a lot of them. But she finds like the most beautiful frames, and she'll put like 1 or 2 pins and make a little scene out of it in like a coordinating frame. And her collection is beautiful. And it's much smaller, but she really makes it more like art than just pins on a corkboard.
She must have more self-control than you.
Yes, she does. She has much more.
This is Amanda's friend's Mary Poppins.
Oh,
nice.
Don't tempt me, Amanda. I'm always like, oh, I love Mary Poppins. I should start a Mary Poppins collection. Oh, I love this movie. I should start that collection.
Judy likes Mary Poppins.
So, Carl, this is your resort and puzzle piece collection.
Yeah, I started, I thought, well, actually, because I went to the boardwalk this time and I like that pin, I thought, I'm never going to stay at all these resorts.
Yeah.
But I like the pin, so and it's one of those I'm saying to myself, I am just going to take my time, and when I find a pin I like, I'll get it.
Yeah.
And the Port Orleans Resort, that was our first place we stayed at in 2004. I actually traded the Coronado Springs one with Daniel Ginger at Epcot. We were talking, and I had a pin he wanted, and he goes, here, I'm going back there. I'll give him another one. I'll trade
cool.
You. Yeah, and then the puzzle pieces, I didn't want, like Sam was saying, she has a whole lot. I really like the Coco one, and I thought, I'm not spending $300 for a whole puzzle set. So I'm going to just collect one from every set I see and something interesting in it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I have a Dixie Landings pin. And if I could find it, Carl, I'll send it to you for your collection.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So let's see. We talked about Amanda. Amanda said she only collects from resorts that she stayed at. She's very choosy about what she collects. She's I think she's had to cut her collection down a little bit. So
right.
She has self-control.
I don't know about that. I've seen her collection. Guys, I think we've gone through everything you guys sent me. Samantha, you had sent me some YouTube resources.
Oh yeah, so if
you want to learn more,
people that want to learn, Disney Pins blog. I mean, correct me if you disagree, Carl, but I think is like the pin place for if you want to learn about anything new coming out. He covers all new releases, and he actually partners with Disney on something, so he gets a lot of information. And then Magically Emily is great for if you're just getting into. She has a lot of beginner videos on just like what type of pins are out there, how to spot fakes, some of the most commonly faked pins. So if you're looking in the parks, avoid things from this set. So she's great too.
That's awesome. Guys,
I learned from that, and then also on some pin auctions. Just listening to the banter back and forth and talking about it, and their pins are authentic pins, and so just learning here and there.
That's fascinating. It's really exciting to learn about the subculture of Disney fandom. Lauren said, I think it would be a great way to start, just doing pins from resorts you stay at, and it would limit you so you won't go overboard. Okay.
The way I look at it, Lauren, is I live in a small space. It's a small thing to collect. Like, I always want to start with the popcorn buckets. I'm like, I don't have room for popcorn buckets. Like, where am I putting these things? But pins, like, I hang them up on the wall. I put them in my little books, and they get tucked away. All my
that's right. You did send me that picture. These are your books.
Those are like anything that's not a main collection goes in. My side collections go in the books.
Okay. And that's it. They have different ways to carry your pins around now. Yeah. They have books like that. They have like fanny packs. And like you said, people are putting them on their hats. So it goes beyond the lanyard now.
Yeah. When I was at Animal Kingdom in February, I traded with this couple, and they had vests that were just covered in pins, and they had a separate like pouch of what was their traders. And I just was thinking, like, geez, that must get so exhausting walking around with that vest on all day, because it was front and back, just
probably
covered.
hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
I agree, Tom.
You know,
we need a Crush official. Dave, I think we have
there
one.
you go.
We had ordered. What were you saying, Carl?
Well, I was just going to say, when you do trade pins, one of the things that learned is you put it on bubble wrap. You know, always wrap the pin. You know, wrap it up, tape it up, put it in a little bubble mailer, and send it off. Don't just put a pin in an envelope, because it gets wrecked. And one of the cool things I learned is people will send what's called zaps. They'll send other things. Like I get this nice little brochure from Hong Kong Disneyland.
I got one of those recently too, and I think the woman was surprised how excited I was about it.
It's all in Chinese, so I can't really read it.
Oh, mine's in English. I'll have to take pictures and send it to you.
And then I get some extra stickers from the Christmas tree stroll, and I'll cut some up and send them. And somebody sent me a badge. They'll put little pieces of candy in there. I get a Disneyland refrigerator magnet. Dave, you want to trade? Maybe you'll send me an Orange Bird Zap.
Well, now that explains it, because Amy Beckner, a few weeks ago, I had told everybody that our family, our mother-in-law has bought the same pin for every girl in our family. So all the girls have this same pin. And my niece Samantha was coming, and I was looking to see if they were still selling that pin. And before I even got an answer, Amy Beckner went on eBay and bought it for me. So
yeah, she had messaged me and was like, "Does this look real to you?" I was like, "I think so."
When it came, there was a second pin in the thing, and Amy was like, "I didn't order that, but I guess that's what you're saying. People will just give you a little bonus."
They'll add stuff, and and not all the time. Sometimes they do. If I sell a pin in that, I will definitely make sure I put something in there. And if it's somebody I trade with a lot, then I'll add stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And it is such a fun community, like you were saying before, Tony. And like, pin people are just the best. And I've made some of my like closest, like same in our community, but like people I talk to every single day. And I just met them because I traded them a pin at one point, and we had similar collections. So then we started chatting back and forth, and they just become like your closest friends.
That's awesome.
Right.
Now the pin that Dave just showed, you just have one left.
Well, I don't know. I have to look around, but yeah, I'll look around.
Those are acrylic. Sticker Mule had ran a special, and I wasn't sure if we were going to like them or not. So I ordered 10. It was 10. I ordered 10 for me and 10 for Dave, and most of them are gone now. We've given them away in the parks, but Dave just found that one. So
cool.
So maybe he'll give one away. We'll have to see.
Yeah. And you can tell that it's not a fake, because see this part right here?
It's got the authentic Disney Crush waffle back.
Yeah. It's got Tony Ann's.
You need the little orange birds on the back.
Yeah. It's got Tony Ann's initials on the back. You can't see it, but it's like a hidden Mickey back there. It's very small.
Sure it does.
Hidden Tony. One of the how for me, how I know how much I love pin trading is, as you might have heard in some of the podcasts, my daughter lives down there. So like you guys, I go down to visit, and we go, I don't usually just go for a trip like Samantha does or a few others, but I'll be happy just go to resorts and pin trade and look. And if I don't get to all the parks, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But if I haven't pin traded, I'm bummed out. It's like,
oh, neat.
I want to know. Look what I got here. Look what we found.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that.
Yeah. Before
you got me
COVID,
into that, Carl. During G3, I had an extra day. I went over to Fort Wilderness and like wandered around. And I had never been over there. Just wandered around. Went into one of the shops, and talking to the cast members, and some of them are really into pins, some of them are not into pins, and they don't even know what they have. And I was talking to someone, like, oh, do you happen to have anything else? She's like, not really. I just have these like Bugs Life ones, which are like the brand new Hidden Mickey ones. I was like, I need those.
Yeah, you just need to talk and ask and have fun. And Katie at Fort Wilderness was wonderful. Unfortunately, she's not there anymore. She's a safari driver, and Caitlin actually was on one of her safaris.
Oh, she was?
She went up and said hi to her, and she's like, oh, I meant to tell you and your dad that I moved.
Oh.
Thanks to Sam, we knew that.
Yeah, he sent me on a mission. He's like, if you see Katie, tell her we say hi. And so I asked for her, and they're like, oh, actually, she's gone, but this is her last week. And I said, oh, do you know where she's going? I assumed she was going to some other merchandise location. And they're like, she's going to go be a safari driver at Animal Kingdom. I was like, oh.
Now,
all right, guys.
Did we mention really quick they used to trade a lot in Epcot? There used to be a...
yeah.
Well, that's what's behind me is the Pin Central, which is currently enveloped in that refurbishment wall. So where are they trading now at Epcot? They're not?
They're really not. Just from the chatter online, it's if somebody happens to show up, but there's not too many places. I ran into them once. Diane and Caitlin and I walked in, and Caitlin always told me, Dad, you got to try to get here when the pin people are here. Okay, walked in. She's like, Dad, pin people. I'm like, yeah, I see the pin. She goes, no, pin people. And I look, and there were just like cases, like Sam has, cases just laying out there.
I've seen it.
I
was like, I have to go back to my car and get all my pins. I'll be right back.
Well, and those will have like, these high-end pins that we're in search of that we think we're never going to get our hands on because they go for $1,000, just as like they're trading this away.
Yeah.
Right. And you just sit there and your eyes are like this big. Like, wow, I can actually see that pin.
I had seen them in Disney Springs sometimes too, but I don't know.
Yes. They periodically they'll be at some of the tables there. With COVID, Disney has kind of discouraged that.
Yeah.
That's why we actually started up the Ohio Pin Traders group. Some of the folks did, and we had our first one last month, and just got a pavilion at a park and laid the stuff out and sat there and talked. And you go through first, and you look, and you might trade a few, and then over 2 hours, people you just keep going back to the pins, going, I think I like that one. I think I like that one.
Awesome. So how many people showed up?
I think there were 5 of us trading.
Mm-hmm.
There were more that wanted to, but had other things. So they're going to try to do it every couple months, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think as more people find out about it, they'll catch on and they'll come.
Right. It's just the start. It was fun. It was just fun seeing other pins. And gosh, I walked away with almost 20 really nice pins.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Carl, have you been to any of the Disney World pin trading events? Because they host, monthly ones, and then they have like a big event every summer usually, which they obviously haven't had the last couple of years. But
yeah, a little intimidated by that, but
it's on my list.
The Disney pin, as I call them, the pin people at Epcot told me about that. I'm never down there at that time. Otherwise, I would go.
Amanda, there's a Texas group that meets and does that.
Yes, and they'll go to some of the local hotels around Disney.
That's an idea. Okay.
Someday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I'm glad we finally got together to do this. This has been a long time since we're talking about it. Samantha and Carl, you guys are always on Facebook, either in the Geekin' on Walt Disney World group or the Friends of the Disney Crush. So if anybody has any questions about pins, those are your go-to people. And Amanda Bond, who was too shy to come on screen, but she knows a lot too. Amanda needs to go. So please reach out to them. They're very friendly. We're all very friendly. So if you have any questions about Disney or pins, please join our community. They'll become your best friends in a minute. So
if you're thinking about taking on a very expensive, dangerous hobby, I'm your girl.
She's got lounge flights and ears.
We'll do it. We'll figure out a way for you to do it on the cheap.
Okay.
I always say, if you're thinking about collecting, pick a very obscure character that you happen to have an affinity for and go with that.
Okay, cool. All right.
Good advice. Good advice.
Makes it easier.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Everybody, we want to thank you so much for joining us. If you guys are interested in buying some t-shirts, give Uli a watch. She's going to be on Facebook as soon as this is over. And so much. And I froze up, I think. I froze up for a minute there. Dave, podcast tomorrow night?
Yes, I'm finishing up the podcast, so it should be out tomorrow night. Late tomorrow sometime, yes.
Okay, it's going to be our first part of our girls' trip. We were only able to get through the first day because we had so much to talk about. So,
right.
Part 1 of the girls' trip. All right.
Part 1. All right, guys. Thank you so much, you guys.
All right.
Good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.